Hello, Whole Woman listeners. This is Kim, and I am so excited about today because Rachel and I are hosting our very first guest. So I'd love for you to say hello to, first off, Rachel. Hello.
Hi, you forgot about me.
No, never forget about you. And our good friend Melissa who is the founder of Embracing Layers Network and also the creator of the Feel framework, which is finding empowerment and embracing layers. I always forget about that, so it's right here on my wall.
You did
Welcome to the
great.
show, Melissa.
Thank you. I'm so
Welcome.
excited to be here. I feel like I'm on with my sisters or like my kids almost because of all of our history that we'll get into. I'm so excited and I'm so honored to be your first guest.
Yes, thank you so much.
All right. Well, I think Rachel's going to kick off because she's known you the longest.
Well, I met Miss Melissa. There's a format called Podmatch, which puts people, podcasters, guests, and together. And when I was promoting my book, The Donut Diaries, I joined Podmatch, and Melissa was one of the first podcasts that said yes. And we did our show together, we did our recording, and literally we're fast friends and have been in each other's lives since then. So we're looking at a little over 2 years now that we've been friends. We've been doing all kinds of lovely panels together. You've really supported me, and you introduced me to this beautiful woman up here. And that's how we started the Whole Woman podcast, because we were really inspired by you.
Mhm.
Mm.
Mhm. Yep. And I met Melissa in the same way through Podmatch, but it was a little bit later on. And I'll never forget, I sent my happy little, "Hi, I'm Kim. I'm the author of Reflections of Joy" letter. And I got a response back, and you were full that year, but you had these great panels going on. And so that gave us some time to interact and learn about each other. And eventually we did do our podcast as well. But I have met the best women. And thanks to you, you've introduced me to so many wonderful people. So we want to talk about friendships today and how that looks
Yeah.
different in our professional lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's one of my favorite things to bring women together. Like this is one of my favorite stories. And you guys are just a classic example of what can happen when women get together, when we share our stories, when we find connections, when we talk about the things a lot of times we've been told not to talk about, but then we find out, oh, wait a minute, I'm not alone in this. And hey, there's somebody with some resources here that can not only support me, but can support others. And I can support her. And we can show up together and create these spaces and places that are safe for women. And so I was able to, I recorded a panel on Monday and it was a financial planning panel. And it was four financial advisors that I'd gotten to know through the years in all these different ways. And my goals was really two pronged. It was one, to share the resources they had with the listeners, but also to bring them together
Mhm.
because so they could network, so they could connect. So my panel approach is always that two-pronged approach of who's interested in this topic, who goes well together, and who would go well knowing each other. And I
Mhm.
can count at least, gosh, I can count many times where women have met and gone on to do different collaborations together, which is my favorite thing in the world. And so when you guys decided to birth this, I felt like I had a grandchild or something. I mean, I was just like my husband would argue it's not the same. We're still waiting for the actual grandchild to come along someday. But yeah, it was just so exciting because I know the power of us coming together and what it can do.
Mhm.
Well,
Mhm.
my first question for you is, that is not a normal way of thinking when it comes to
Mhm.
women in business or women relationships in general. Was this a conversation you had with yourself? Was it a conversation that you had with somebody that you just knew, I'm not going to be like that. I'm going to support women. I'm going to bring women together. I'm going to create this lovely family of women who really do want to support each other. Like, talk to me about how that kind of came to you.
Well, it's kind of funny. It's always been kind of innate in me to be passionate about women and support women. And I think, unfortunately, it came from watching the damage that unhealthy women dynamics have on each other.
Yeah.
And it was like, one, we don't have to be this way. And two, how sad. Nobody wins in that scenario. Both parties are lonely in various ways. Both parties are trying to claw and find their way in the world, but it's based on insecurity, it's based on lack of safety, it's based on lack of trust, and all these narratives we hear about women, and also just kind of the more general societal expectation of how women are pitted against each other for that one spot at the table. And it's like, no, 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 no. If we actually come together and work together and find common ground together, we can move a lot more needles and create a lot more safe spaces and find out we've actually got more in common than we thought we did by learning how to show up for each other. And I think from the benefit of just being on teams, playing sports through the years, and knowing the power of collaboration, mm-hmm. It was just kind of something, but it came from seeing the flip side that we see, and the realization that, hold on a minute, these systems of power that are in place, we're playing right into it when mm-hmm. we allow that narrative to rue the day. Let's combat that narrative and combat that stigma, stereotype, whatever that's out there, and actually come together. But I will tell you, and you all know this, it starts with us. Mm-hmm. We have to be willing to do the work on us, to deal with the root of our own insecurities, and not treating these thoughts and narratives and stereotypes as truth. Like, these are just things that are out that I've been told. That doesn't mean they're true. Right. And it's that willingness to do that then allows us to feel safe and invitational. Mm-hmm. So yeah, there's a lot of unpacking and unlearning of all that has to happen. But yeah, that's kind of the whole thing behind it. I just saw so many women that are like, no, we get to have a voice too. We matter too, and we do. And tearing down each other to get there is just adding to the problem. It's not helping.
Mm-hmm. Right. You have such a healthy viewpoint of first off being a woman and being a good friend, and everything you just said. What our listeners may not know is that you've raised 3 daughters, right? Mm-hmm. How did this realization or this learning that you had in your early years help you raise them to be strong women? Do you feel like they received this from you, or are they still receiving it from you?
I think they're more still receiving it from me. The interesting thing is I grew up with all brothers and all boy cousins. I had no girls in my life, in my family. And so when I had daughters, I was like, I don't know what to do with this. But I knew that drama and those kinds of things weren't something that that either my husband or I wanted in this script. So we were very open about that. And we were very careful about not putting we didn't do it perfectly. Like, listen, they're all in therapy for various things. God, but what we did always tell them is, you get to choose. You get to be who you are. You don't have to get married. You don't have to have children. Those are choices. Your value, your identity. A lot of the scripts and narratives I've heard about what makes you successful, I was very vocal about making sure they knew, no, that's not true. You get to decide. You get to have choice in that. And then I think what they're really learning from me now is, because of the background I came from, my background was very emotionally and mentally volatile. And so I've done a lot of unpacking and learning since they've grown. They're in their 20s and one's in their early 30s now. And so I think they continue to learn from me that it's never too late to unlearn and relearn. And it's okay as a parent to say, I didn't get that right, and I want to apologize for that. And I want to own that. And how can I support you in getting the help you need? Because I understand and take responsibility for the damage that did. I both did the best I could and also realized I was really operating from a wounded place that then poured onto you. And so, but yeah, I was very fierce. And I think I almost went too far with the independence piece because I was so determined that I didn't want them to be dependent, that I think I had to kind of circle back and be like, we still need each other. We still need each support. And the one thing I will say is they all have come to a point where they have very rich friendships in their life. They understand the value of other women in their life. They understand the value of women's voices. They're all very, in their own way, advocates and supporters of the underserved and underheard voices in the world. And that's probably the thing that I am most proud of, is that they're really good humans. And that's, so I think, it's, and I will go toe to toe with anybody on this. People, oh, 3 girls, oh my gosh, they were a joy to raise. They really were. We just didn't have, not that they didn't have their issues. I mean, we had the fights and we had some things we had to work through, and through the years, but on the whole, I grew up with 3 brothers and 6 boy cousins, and there was a whole lot more shit going down with them than there ever was with my 3 daughters. And my husband is so sweet. He is the best girl dad. And every time, men would say to him all the time, especially men, and sometimes women too, especially older generations that are where it's a little more, traditional systems in place. Oh gosh, you didn't get your boy. Are you going to try for your boy? He's like, I'm batting 1,000. I have 3 and he didn't, and he meant it. And that the girls have talked about how important it was for them to hear him say that over the years, over and over again, how much of that stuck with them, how much of that impacted how they felt about themselves. They never, ever, ever once felt like he wished he'd had a son instead of them. So his role in that, and being raised by a very strong woman in his mother, who was really a woman before her time. There were no gender roles in that family. They all learned to do the same things. They all had the same responsibilities. She did not wait on my father-in-law at all. He did his own laundry.
Wow.
Yes. And so that plays a big role too, and that really enabled him to show up to be the dad to girls as well.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
I think from what you just said, I want to ask you, or we can all just talk about it. Like, it's such an interesting time. There was the 50s, the 60s, where women had their role, and then, things started to evolve and change, and we started to be like, you know what, we're people too, and we have these wants and desires and goals and dreams. And now we're in a generation or a time where people aren't really identifying as one thing anymore. And we are all in our 50s. And that can be kind of strange for us because we didn't grow up like that. But I think the most beautiful lesson for me, knowing the 2 of you, is that we don't shut down. Like, we don't shut that kind of thing down. We're at least open to hearing about it, talking about it. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to form an opinion, but I think that's my problem with women relationships. Like, don't try to force something. Don't try to change my mind. Let me be the person I'm going to be, because I will respect you and love you and treat you like you're also a human being. And we talk about that a lot on our panels when we do a panel with you. It's not even about being a woman, being a man. It's about being a human being and being kind and being respectful and accepting. And I would say that it's still a lesson that some people haven't learned. I mean, would you 2 agree with that?
Yeah. I think that we have moralized identity in a way that I believe in God. That God never intended. Like, I think that it's like, listen, we're all made and designed to be our own special, unique selves. There's no one else on earth like us. That's the point.
Mm-hmm.
So I am going to be supportive and welcome and inviting and curious about someone when they say what their lived experience is and how they feel and how they identify. And I'm going to respect that. And they're not, I don't understand. I do and I don't. I want to say, I don't, I struggle personally when someone's just like, well, that's not okay with that choice. That's not okay that he decided to stay home and she's the one making the money. That's not okay. That's not okay that she, identifies in this way now. That's not okay. Like, why is that not okay? Why do you care? I mean, what impact on your life is that having? Even if you have a very conservative, like, well, that's not what God said. I'm like, okay, that you get to decide that.
Yeah.
You get to decide that for you.
Mm.
If that's how it shows up in your life, I respect that. That it's not your responsibility to impose that on someone else. Your responsibility is to love and be curious and be kind and be open. That we have to agree with everything, just like Rachel said. But this judgment of this hierarchy of you're wrong and you're bad and you're evil and you're going, whatever. It's like, no, that's just no. You're missing the whole entire point there.
Yeah. I'm 100% with you. And in fact, just like a week ago, I said, show me where it says that. Show me where it says that, because I too, Rachel and I have had conversations and we're both very spiritual. All three of us, we're very connected to people, but I am a Christian and I believe in the word in the Bible. And the Bible says, love your God and love your neighbor as yourself. It doesn't say in there, pick and choose who's doing the right thing. Not any one place and time. And it also says in there that we're not to judge. And so I think that's the biggest thing as an older woman in my friendships. I really feel like the doors have been thrown wide open. And with this is really going to date me, right? Because the internet did not exist. I first touched a big old computer in my senior year in high school, and I surely didn't carry one around in my purse, right?
Oh, God, no.
But the world has opened up for us, and through writing my book, more than any other time in my life, I've had the opportunity to meet women across the world, women who believe different things, worship in different ways, have different life experiences. And my friendship base is, like, some people will say when you meet people online that it's a very superficial friendship, but I would strongly disagree. I've met people that I have the richest conversations with and connections, and people who truly care about me. Sometimes my internet friends will check on me quicker than my lifelong friends, just because we work together. And so I'm curious, what does friendship, not us, we started as work and we've become friends, but as you take off your headphones and you live your normal life, what does friendship look like for you now?
It's my friendships now. It's so interesting. I have friends of all ages. Like, some of my closest friends are 10 to 15 years younger than me or 10 to 15 years older than me. I also have I have friends that are still raising kids. I have friends that are in their 70s. And so I think because of what I've learned about the importance of being curious rather than judgmental, and the opportunities I've had, I've talked to over 200 women right now, just on the podcast alone, and from all over the world. And that has just opened my eyes to so many possibilities. And so my friendships now are very much women where we show up for each other. We support each other. we are curious about how to support each other. I don't assume I know what someone needs. Hey, what feels supportive in this area? I can show up in this way, but what feels supportive to you? And I was having, coffee with a friend last week, and she was talking about some struggles she's having at work. I'm like, I've got this resource. I think it would be really helpful, but also let's get together and have a follow-up conversation in a couple of weeks and just see how you're doing, because this is tricky what you're navigating. So it's I haven't and we've moved a lot over the years. I've moved 12 times. And so getting to this last move after living in a place where it was a lot more difficult to make friends, I didn't find a lot of my people there. There were a lot of people that were very kind on the surface, but they were very set in their ways, had very specific opinions, and they weren't willing to move off of those. And I just couldn't get on board with that. So we were friendly, but I wouldn't call them friends. Whereas here, I have been able to find my people more, but also, it gets to, I'm 56 and you're just like, oh my gosh, I got to move and make more friends. And I'm an extrovert. And even within that, it's just like, you still have to go through kind of the sifting process of who fits and who doesn't. Mm-hmm. But I'm also really intentional about the spaces I put myself in that allows me to find people that I am going to be aligned with. And when I say aligned with, I don't mean we're alike in I have all kinds of friends. I mean, I've got some friends that are very woo-woo and kind of like have practices that I'm like, I would never do that, but I love that it works for you. And then I have friends on the flip side that are a little more conservative, but they're kind and they're not judgmental and they're still willing to have conversations, even if that's not how they live their life. So for me, that I would say that's probably, are you kind and are you curious? Because if I start sensing or hearing the judgment come in, I'm going to decide how much space I spend with you. I'm going to have some boundaries around that relationship because that's just not a space where we're going to be aligned.
I hear you. And Kim and I talk a lot about female friendships and friendships in general. And if you recall some of our shows last year, I was really kind of at this precipice of, I've been settling for this type of friendship for a long time, and I'm so done with that. And I did the work, and I have literally gone into this year with like, I do not have time for that, and I'm not going to allow any people, group, person to disrupt that for me. I worked way too hard to get over that and to really believe that I deserve beautiful women friendships that I can count on, I can depend on, and they can count and depend on me.
Yeah.
And I think for me, I had to grow up a little bit because that doesn't look the same with every person. It's not about holding my hand through every life thing. It's not about that every single person has to be the person I call at midnight if I need it. That's one person for me. That's one.
Yeah.
And that's enough. And to realize that every person has their place in my life, but they don't have a place to be two-faced and like talk kindly to my face and unkindly behind my back. That is a hard stop. I'm so done with that. I'm not even going to entertain it anymore.
Yeah. And I think too, another thing I have learned about that is if they're talking that way about other people to you, you best darn believe they're going to be doing that in other spaces.
You're next.
That's a red flag for me. That's a red flag. Like I will be congenial and we will have, when we run into each other, we will enjoy our time, but you're not going to get too far into the door because I don't play that way anymore. I think too, like, it's so interesting that these friendships in this season of my life, they get to meet me as I am today. And they don't have, and sometimes, they don't have any of the preconceived notions or the judgments. There's a lot of people, I'm at the core, like if you were just to run into me somewhere, you'd be like, oh, she's just the same. But if you get to know me more, you get to talk about my values more, and you get to talk a little bit more about what I believe in and what I support and all of that, then you find, oh gosh, that's really shifted for her. So there's a lot of people, because I've moved around so much, there's a lot of people who think they know me and realize actually they don't at all. And also there's some in my life where the relationships that I've been in a long time have shifted because I made some shifts when they didn't. And I've had to decide with some of those relationships, how am I going to navigate this? Because there's been, there's a lot of time invested in this. We, our kids are like cousins, are very close or whatever. And so I want to, so that's, I'm going to navigate this differently, but I'm not going to just let it burn down because we've got a lot of, but I'm also going to not force it to be something it's not anymore. And so I think that's been something that's been interesting for me too, where I've really had to learn how to navigate those in a way that still allows the relationship to remain, but also accept some sadness that there's some things about it that will never be again. And also I have all these other women in my life who, if I told them the person I was and things that I participated in and believed in 10 to 15 years ago, they were like, I would have never guessed that about you. Like, so it's nice and refreshing to have those people in my life too, that have that kind of fresh perspective of meeting me right where I am right now.
Mm-hmm. I have one other, I just wanted one more question for the both of you on this topic. And then Kimmy, will you remember your question?
I think so. Yeah.
Write it down. Okay. So for you both, this is really important to me. The distinction is there. If you're having an issue with a friend or another person in your life and you pick your person to say, I need to vent to you, I need to see this from a different perspective. Is there a distinction for you guys that it's like, I'm not talking smack about this other person. I'm really trying to deal with it and understand. Some people don't think there is. I'm curious for you two, is there a distinction?
I'll just jump in quick because I think,
Yeah.
I mean, for me, absolutely. There's gossip and there's trying to sway someone like back in the days when we were on the playground, and you'd pretend you were someone's friend so you could get a little bit of dirt and share it with another friend. Those days are gone and I have no time for that.
Right.
Sometimes I need a sounding board. And in as much as I love my husband, he is a man and he doesn't get some things. He just doesn't get it.
Yeah,
And so
correct.
there's some things that I need to turn to a Melissa or Rachel, or, I mean, I've got two women that I've known for the longest time and I just love them with my whole heart. And I see them. Sometimes we just stand together in church, but other times I need to sit down with a cup of coffee and just really let my heart go. And so for me, there is a difference.
Yeah, me too. And I think too, one of the things that I kind of approach it with is if someone's coming to talk to me about something they're struggling with, are you trying to solve something here? Or are you just trying to make noise? And sometimes it's funny stuff. Like Kim and I have husbands that are similar ages and we'll do similar things sometimes. And we will be like, I can say something to her and she laughs because she totally gets it because that just happened to her yesterday.
Yeah.
And so you kind of figure out those, and sometimes you just need those are things that they're not going to change. We've been together for 30 some years. It is what it is. And also, holy crap.
Someone needs to hear me.
Just coming to bitch and gripe about someone. And you're just coming there to bitch and gripe. You're not really trying to find a solution. If you and you're not interested in, and you just keep doing the same thing over and over again. So I do have a person in my life who has repeatedly complained about the same people to me. And I finally, about a year and a half ago, was like, all right, I have told you on numerous occasions what I thought, what I advised. I've given you feedback on it. You've chosen not to take that action. And these things continue to happen and you choose to complain. And I'm just not going to listen to it anymore. And we had been together long enough that I could say, I'm like, when you get to a point where you're ready to actually do something about it, let's have a conversation. But if you've decided that it's going to be more of a cost to do something, then you've chosen that. That's a choice you've made. This is no longer happening to you. You've chosen to allow it because of your choice to not take action. I'm not interested in that conversation anymore.
Correct.
And so for me, that's a very differentiating factor. Like, this really hard thing happened. And also asking people, do you want a solution, or do you just need to let it out and process it verbally with someone that you trust?
Yeah.
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 That was a great answer, both of you. All right, Kimmy, what were you going to ask Melissa?
I was gonna ask Melissa about, she's got grown kids, right? And so something my husband always says to me, oh, we don't have any friends. And the simple fact is we do. We have a lot of friends, but life goes through stages.
Yeah.
And our friends when our kids were babies seemed to be the people that we worked with. Those were our friends.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then your friend group becomes the parents of the kids your kids play sports with, or do band or choir or whatever with. And then the kids grow up and go away, and you're in this weird space. And Rachel, the cool thing is like you've always been in this space. I feel I'm jealous a little, right? Because you've always been able to just choose
Well, it's not that I chose wisely.
well, yeah, but you like sometimes we have what I would consider forced friendships that work out, right?
Right.
And so you spend all your time together, and there's just this really great thing that happens for the moment. But then what do you do when it's gone? And so I'm just curious, for you. You have an empty nest. You've moved a lot of times. So where do you find friends? And what do you do when a friendship's fizzling because the connection's gone?
Yeah. Yeah. That is that is a tricky one for us. We have two couple friends that, through all of the things, one, we met, my head Brady and he coached baseball together when they were both grad students, and they coached this little high school baseball team together and just became fast friends. And he was in our wedding, and he just became like a brother to me, and has married this wonderful woman about 7-8 years later that we adore. And we may not talk for months or even a year or two sometimes, but we always come back together, and they will always be our friends. Like, they've been to all of our kids' graduations and weddings. They're just always there. They housed one of our kids for a couple of months, a couple of summers ago, when she was taking care of my father-in-law. And they're just always going to be there. Another couple friend of ours, our kids played volleyball together. We traveled the country together for 8 years. We had all three of our kids were the same age as each other. Our oldest two were very best friends. Our middle two were good buddies, and our younger two weren't as good of friends, but they played a lot of stuff together, and our families were just friends. We will always be friends with them. Whenever we go back to see my adopted family in Spokane, we connect with them. I can go months and not talk to her and connect, and it's like we never. And our husbands are also friends and can do the same thing. We would like, I think they're going to meet us in Arizona in a couple months for spring training, even though we haven't seen them for a couple years. So we have a couple of those that have just lasted the test of time. There's enough in common that connects us, and there's a trust there that will show up for each other. But other than that, it gets tricky because my husband is an extroverted introvert, which is tricky because people in the world think he's an extrovert. But honestly, he's a very public facing job. And so we're at a lot of events together. And there's a lot of people that think they're his friend, that he would not count the same way. They don't know him though. He just doesn't let as many people in. And the ones that he lets in are very close, but he doesn't let as many people in. He also, when he's not at work on the weekends, he just wants to hang with me. He doesn't want to go to a movie with couples. He doesn't want to go on a trip with other couples. Whereas I would enjoy, there are friends that I'm friends with whose husbands here really like him and would love for us to do more couple things together. And he's like, do I have to? And I'm like, well, not with that energy. And so sometimes we'll go to just enough things to kind of keep them from thinking we don't like them. Because But honestly, I would do more with them if he was willing. So it's been a bit of a balancing act, but he also understands that. And so sometimes he will, pony up and go to some of these things to try to find that balance. But he's perfectly fine, and good. Luckily for me, in the kind of work I do and the things I'm involved with, I get plenty of social engagement. So it's not like I have to do this or I'm lacking anything, but it's that balance of us finding people we both connect with. And we're very lucky that in this case, we also have some friends, I will say another group of friends from college volleyball days in New York, that we could connect with those couples. If we go to New York for a visit, we can call them. If we haven't seen them in 5 years, doesn't matter. They will all show up to dinner together. We love being together. So we have some, over the years, we've made some of those, but kind of our tricky balance in this stage is just, and I think when Brady retires, that will shift, because he won't have this public facing job where he's given all of his extroversion energy out. But yeah, that's kind of what we're navigating a little bit right now. So it's a continual process.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then on the parts, I will tell you, we had a group of friends that we thought were our friends. And because he has a very public facing job, can be a lot of benefits to knowing him. He might be able to get you access to tickets or people that are associated with the university that a lot of people find exciting or appealing or have some kind of a starstruck with, that kind of thing. And that has burned us a few times over the years, where couples wanted to be our friends because of the access he could provide. And when something shifted and that access wasn't there anymore, all of a sudden they weren't all that interested. And it was very heartbreaking. And we had some very heartbreaking things happen, not only impacted us, but it impacted our kids growing up when these people did that and shifted. And that also, I think, for him was something where he was just a little more careful about who gets let in and whatnot, because the truth of the matter was they just were interested in what we might give them access to, not really all that interested in us.
But you can probably pick those kind of people out of
I'm very much smarter about it than I mean, I will tell you from that time on, we were much more savvy about it. A lot of the attraction came from, and the willingness to let them in came from my own insecurity of, we've moved again or looking for friends, and these people seem fast and fun and cool and connected and all that. And then realizing it was just all this really surfacey stuff. So time taught some hard lessons. Also, I'm very much a proponent of, there are other friendships we've had that were wonderful in this season and they just don't fit anymore. We just don't have that common, that nobody did anything wrong. Nobody's evil or bad. We just shifted and changed. And I will say, when you move a lot, you're not necessarily in the community navigating that anymore. We've moved away, and, but there's also sometimes you might come across each other again, and it's always friendly, but you just don't have, and this idea that we have to preserve relationships just because they've always been, I think is really damaging to both sides, because we need to be honoring our time and energy and space with people that can meet us where we are and are for us in that time we're in, and can show up authentically in that space. And when you force things out of pressure or somebody's ideal of something, that's not authentic. And that's just giving your energy away, and they're giving their energy away. Nobody wins in that. So it's okay. I've really changed my mind on a lot of things over the years. And one of the things I've changed my mind on, and maybe it's just being the age we are, is when couples divorce after 20, 30 years. Sometimes there's just a shift. Nobody has to be shitty. No, but sometimes you just shift. Things just change. That doesn't mean that relationship shouldn't have happened. That doesn't mean they didn't have many happy years together. That doesn't mean sometimes things just shift. But staying in something for the sake of staying in something and being miserable is not honoring to anybody. And I will just say, I think don't think God wants us to live in a way that's not honoring to the way he designed us and made us to be. And he made us, they made us, she made us, however you see God, to evolve and grow continually. And sometimes we grow and evolve into different directions. And so I think I see that very differently now than I used to.
Yeah, I do too. It's interesting because I know Rachel, your bestie is a couple of moves ago, right? And she's so just because you move doesn't mean an ending. It can become, and your
Yeah.
friends in New York, whatever the case may be, friendships can always be there. They just don't
Yeah.
have to be the only.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I loved having this conversation with you, Melissa, because like I said, you are a unicorn in a lot of ways because you really do genuinely want women to connect. You want women to empower each other, support each other. I mean, I don't ever feel like you force us to like each other. You let all that happen naturally, but you do create a space where we all just come on this panel together, never have met, and we leave like besties. So that's a gift that you have. And I hope that you never lose it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I think it took me it's so interesting. We're very good at picking out those like hard skills that we have that we're good at. And I have those hard skills, but a lot of my skills aren't those. They're more what you'd call the soft. And I don't like hard and soft skills because it makes it sound like one's more important or tougher or stronger or whatever the other. And it's not the case. They're all necessary. But yeah, I think that is something I have learned. I've learned over the years, and I do have an ability to do that, and just embracing that and calling it and owning it. I think that it's something that's really important for we as women to do, that we celebrate our wins and we name the things that, and we show up in the spaces and places. What gives me energy is showing up in the spaces and places where I know I thrive. I mean,
Right.
I told you guys earlier today, I'm like battling through this weird sinus thing right now. So I went and looked at my calendar this week and was like, what's going to give me energy and what can I wait for that doesn't need to happen right now, that's going to drain me, because I know I need a little more energy right now to take care of myself well. And so I was very mindful of like, I'm going to select the things that are, and the other things I'm going to move, because that's going to be more of a drain on me. I wasn't willing to do that a couple of years ago. And so that's something, that I have learned to do as well. And I think, it's okay to honor, and Rachel is a great person for this, of just being that cheer person in your life, calling out that thing that she sees in you that's great, or sending that quick message randomly that reminds you of who you are. And I think the way I see the work I do is I'm just helping you see what's already in you. It's all there. Sometimes we just need somebody to help us draw it out and let us know that it's happening, that it exists, that it's alive, that it can be tapped into. So I think that's, and finally having the courage to go in and work in a space that I think I was always called to be in. It just took a lot of years to get to lead me there.
I think there are a lot of women who know that they have friends they should connect. And then there's always that fear of, well, what if they don't like each other? Or what if I make a mistake? But you've done a nice job of just putting women together and allowing them to make the decisions themselves. I love the panels. Like I said earlier, I've met so many women, and obviously I love Rachel the best. But it's just such a great environment. So how would you encourage other women to create that space where they can cultivate friendships, I guess?
Yeah, I think just pay attention, trust your instincts. Like, I trusted my instincts that you two would connect. I was like, oh, they're different, but they're the same. Like there's some commonalities here that aren't going to run, that are going to, there's some potential here for them. And I knew for that conversation it would be important, but I also was already thinking, like, whenever I bring a group of women together, and it's a little more open on our Come As You Are panels, because literally anybody can come in, but I'm also mindful on some of the more topic related ones of who I think is going to mix and complement each other well together. And so be mindful of that. Think about the people that connect, and then trust those people to decide whether that's going to work for them. Get out of the way. I think where women get in trouble, and it's the same with matchmaking. If you're matchmaking a couple or you're matchmaking a friendship, open the door, give them the space, and then allow them to take it from there. If it doesn't take hold, maybe it just wasn't time. But I think sometimes as women, we get too invested, too involved. We decide, we kind of try to push or pressure something, bring them together, create the safe space, help them meet each other and realize the connections, and then trust them to take it from there. I think that's, but yeah, I mean, I think we don't, and it's not, and if they don't take it from there, okay, they maybe later. I think we have to quit seeing, oh gosh, I'm bad at matchmaking, I'm bad at introducing friends. No, you gotta, just see what happens.
No, I can say I'm bad at it. I am so bad at it. I am not gonna lie to you. When I introduce two people, they're like, Rachel, what exactly were you thinking? Yeah, I'm not good at it. So
I will say that's always been like, I worked in human resources, and I was an employment and benefits administrator for the first 10 years of my life after college. And I was really good at it. I was really good at hiring people for the right positions. And so some of it is just innate in me. I do have instincts. Like, I had managers that would ask me to manage their job postings because I had done a really good job of finding them the right people. So I do think there's an instinct that goes with that, and there's a gift that goes with that. But also, but I don't think we trust those things enough. I mean, so if you feel like you are that person, trust that. But I think but don't take responsibility for it from there. Open doors, bring people together, open opportunities for collaboration, encourage them to connect, share each other's contact information, and then let it go and let it be whatever it's going to be. And if it comes up later and you want to ask about it, and it's not, it's just kind of seamlessly comes up, hey, what happened with that? And sometimes it's a reminder, so they just get busy. Oh yeah, I do need to touch base with them. Because I had that happen with two different guests where I'm like, I'd introduced them. They've both gotten busy. Different things had happened. They came together again on a panel, kind of accidentally, actually. And I was like, did I ever connect you two? And they're like, yeah, maybe. And now they're doing something. I mean, so that does happen, but don't I think but trust your instincts and then let them take it from there. But always embrace that opportunity to do that. And the other thing is, when you run into women who are still in that competition mindset, rather than being judgmental about that, get curious, start asking them questions. What is it that led you here? Why do you believe that? Do you think that's still true today? Are you open to the possibility that there might be a different way to approach that? And just see what they say. Maybe that's just where they are, because you can't make people do things they don't want to do. I mean, I have learned that for people. I have learned that, and Rachel's been a great teacher of this, of don't chase. She's heard me refer to that a million times. One of the greatest lessons she's taught me is don't chase. And so don't chase, but also trust. And if the instinct and opportunity arises, because we ladies, we are better together, and we create safe spaces for ourselves, our daughters, our daughter-in-laws, our co-workers, our sisters, our grandchildren, whoever it is, when we do that and we model that to them. Mm-hmm. And I think our generation is starting to embrace that. There's still some in our generation that operate in the old narrative. Mm-hmm. And I just, that's just not, I'm very open about, like, when people want to work with me or they want to come onto my platform on the Field podcast or the panel show, I have pre-meets and to make sure that it's the right fit. We're not here to boot each other out. We're here to lift each other up and support each other and create more space for each other. But we're modeling that. And, I'm seeing my three daughters be very open to that. That is how they move in the world. That is how they operate in the world. I think they've seen the errors of their parents and grandparents' generation and are shifting from it, but they're also seeing us shift from it too.
Yeah, I agree. Well, you hinted at the podcast and the panels and the open conversations you have. So why don't you tell everyone a little bit about what you've created and what your hope is through your work?
Yeah. So I have the Embracing Layers Network. It started out as the Field podcast in the summer of 2021. And it was honestly born out of my own journey of hitting a wall and not prioritizing my wellness and putting everybody else's ahead of me and stuffing and storing and ignoring traumas and emotions and all these things for the sake of everybody else for years. That's what I was taught. That's what I was modeled. Many of us were. And through therapy and learning and growing and watching my daughters learn and grow and my husband and all of us kind of together through this time in 2020 and 2021, I kind of accidentally at the time came up with this kind of framework of questions and points that I knew I needed to live by. And I was like, we need, as women, need to talk about this. We are not talking about the shit that gets in the way of us living out finding empowerment, embracing layers, feeling empowered in our own lives and embracing all of our layers. I call them layers, all the pieces, parts of your story that make up who you are. So I simply wanted to start conversations. I knew a lot of women. I'd lived all over the country. So I got the right equipment. My mentee helped me with that and had a big closet in Lubbock, Texas, had good sound, and just started having conversations with women I knew. And out of that, over time, I started realizing, there's these points we're discussing can actually really make an impact on people's lives. There's some other ways I can make this available to women. And so birthed out of that, we wrote a book with my writer, Jessica Garrison. We created the panel show because I learned the power of women coming together in groups to have these conversations about the things that get in the way of us living out this way. And it's like, if we talk about this and get it out in the open, then other women, wait a minute, me too. This is a safe place for me to wait. I can say that out loud. If I say vagina, no one's head's going to explode. If I talk about menopause, no one's going to lose their minds. They know what perimenopause is because I didn't until 10 years ago. I mean, whatever it is. Oh, we're talking about emotional health. You mean your emotional, mental, physical health are connected? You mean that headache I have is from the stress at this situation? I mean, so it was just to open the door and create space for conversations. And then through that, taking these talking points and writing the book. And then I started being asked to speak locally at some organizations that I was involved with about these points. And then I wrote like the online course last year, and Kim helped me. Kim's like, you need a workbook with this. So she helped me create a workbook, and it just really organically formed over time. That's the only thing I know how to say. And so now we have this treasure trove of resources. You can do one-on-one empowerment sessions with me. You can utilize online course if you want to do it a little more independently. You can have me come speak to your group, whether it's in a workshop form or a whole weekend. I can morph this into a lot of different ways and things, and you can just simply listen to the podcast and the resources, because the thing that I have found is we have this framework, but then women like you have all these other resources that fit within the framework to help meet women where they are. So we talk about self-care. I know all these women that have got great self-care resources. We talk about boundaries. I've got all these women that have great, on and on and on. And so it's ended up being this whole thing that I never saw coming 4.5 years ago, not in my wildest dreams. And so, yeah, so go to embracinglayers.com. You can find it all there. And the goal is to meet women where they are, women who are ready to live unapologetically, finding their own empowerment, embracing their own layers, tapping into what's already inside them. It's not selfish to do that. Our friend Erin Copeland, that we all know, you made up a word. She's like, it's actually self-full to fill your own cup and show up healthy and well for yourself and everyone in your life. Everyone gets a better experience with you when you show up in a healthy way. So yeah, here we are now, 4.5 years later. I've met the most remarkable people from all over the world. And I wouldn't know you two without it, to start there. I can't even imagine my life. I think the big shift we've made is we've shifted from being this podcast and panel show to this space and place that has these resources. So we've been kind of doing a little bit of a rebrand in that space of like, no, we've got these resources that you pay for at one time, you've got it for life. They can support you and help you, and can support and help your friends. And I really encourage people to do these things in the online courses and the workshops in community, the book clubs. We're starting another book club this afternoon in community to support each other through it. So yeah,
love that.
That's what I do.
Yay. That's not enough. You need to get busy, Melissa.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's something I've learned too, is that, I've learned when I have more and less energy throughout the year. And I've been able to honor that. I'm no longer in a workspace where I got to show up every day, 9 to 5, and perform according to that space's expectation. Because I've learned that's not how I work the best. That's not what honors me. So it's been a whole other wellness learning piece that I didn't even know it's going to be there.
Yeah. Well, I love that you've been here with us today. And
I know it's totally the best that you are our very first guest. We are so honored and so grateful that you were able to join us today. Thank you so much.
Oh, absolutely. I'm so proud of you guys. I'm so happy you've done this. It's so important. It matters. These are the kinds of conversations we need to be having. Just keep doing it. I'm your biggest fan. You guys know that. I'd like to put you guys on my big, I texted this to you guys a couple months ago.
Yeah.
I had you up on my TV. I turned my YouTube channel up on my 60-inch TV, and there's Kimmy and Rachel there. And they're like, oh my God, that's kind of scary. I'm like, oh, it's you right here. And you're like in my living room with me.
Yeah. Well,
that's my favorite way.
I still haven't done that. So maybe someday.
I watched us on the pad.
Mm-hmm.
You look wonderful on my 60-inch big screen.
Thank you.
All right, friend.
Kim, I shouldn't say we. Kim will put all of Melissa's contact info in the show notes. And if you want to find Melissa, they will be there.
All right.
Embracinglayers.com. It's easy.
Yes.
You're going to ruin it for me. I wanted us to look profesh. I'm just kidding.
All right, friends. Well, I am, again, so thankful that we were all able to find time to get together and to talk. And we'll be releasing this. And so the whole world will know where to find you and really how to be better friends as we grow older and figure things out, right?
Yeah, we need
We're
each
all
other.
still learning. We're all still learning.
Yeah. I love being with you here today. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Thank
you.
So much.
Love you. Mwah.
Bye.
Bye.